Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder on Weather here. We've got big changes coming in the week ahead with numerous record highs and record lows, as well as a significant winter storm with very heavy snow and a damaging ice storm unfolding by the middle of the week. So let's really break this thing down for you so you can really plan ahead and know what to expect, and start off with the overall water vapor imagery this afternoon. You can follow the date and time on the far top right hand corner of my screen, but there is this power upper level low that's hanging off the west coast down here towards California. That's bringing in a warm southwest wind that's going to be blanketed across portions of the southern plains as well as into the southeast. Very warm temperatures over the coming days. At the same time, we've got really true deep Arctic air really building up here in northern Canada. That's going to be plunging southbound in the days to come. So let's take a look at some of these temperatures this afternoon. And wow, we've got widespread 30 and 40, if not almost 50 below zero up there in northern Canada. That's some serious cold air. A piece of that will be drifting southbound in the days to come, and that's will be setting the stage for our significant winter storm with the very heavy snow and ice, unfortunately, that's going to be breaking out. So let's take a look at the setup by Wednesday. We have that significant trough that's going to be diving in off the west coast, bringing very cold temperatures into California and across the west coast, even into the desert southwest. That's even going to bring a lot of cold rain and chilly rain. And we could be even talking some snowflakes getting near Los Angeles, believe it or not. At the same time, we've got a ridge of high pressure that's going to be dominating over the southern plains and good chunk of the southeast, and even along the coastal regions into North Carolina. They could be looking at a lot of record high temperatures unfolding, but there's the sharp gradient where it cuts off, and that is going to be setting the stage for our significant winter storm. In fact, if we zoom into some of the overall watches and warnings currently right now, we've got numerous winter storm warnings blanketed across the west coast. Those drift all the way down into California. Look at those winter storm watches getting dangerously close to Los Angeles. It's definitely going to be chilly and very unusual, while the snow and heavy snow just flies in Flagstaff there down into Ogden, Utah. And then we've got blizzard warnings happening in a good chunk of Wyoming. I think even those get extended. We've got numerous winter storm warnings back into Montana, but there's the heavy snow swath that'll be coming across portions of Sioux Falls back into Minneapolis, into St. Paul, and a little bit lighter snows blanketed across Bismarck. And these will just get extended east because they only issue those 24 to 48 hours out. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel. And it's also important to hit the like button as well. It definitely helps out more than you know. And if you're in the market for a weather station, I highly recommend the Tempest Weatherflow weather station. It's one I've personally had for the last 3 years. So, and they're still doing the discount of $40 off if you use the best WX discount at checkout. That takes off $40 and gives you free shipping. So if you'd like to purchase one of these, I would have the link in the description below, so it's easy to click on and you can actually order one for yourself. But let's take a look at the temperatures for later on this afternoon. The temperatures are really going to be cranking with that southwest wind. I think we touched 83 degrees in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but numerous 80-degree temperatures in Texas, across the southeast. All these areas in red will easily approach into the 70s, while those elevated temperatures approach even in the 60s down here into Missouri, getting into Indiana, all the way into Illinois and Ohio, back into the 50s. There's the Arctic air still up there in Canada, but we'll start to see initial pieces drop into 11 degrees by the time we head 3 o'clock this afternoon up there into the Dakotas. But yes, as we go into tomorrow, more cold air will sink a little bit further south, and those temperature gradients will just be even more extreme, as we'll have numerous record highs start to break out and unfold across the southern plains and much of the southeast. But I think the main push of this Arctic air will be pushing further west and bringing all those colder temperatures. That's why they've got those numerous winter storm warnings and watches in place. And it's going to be very windy with this system. So this is the overall winds for the next 48 hours. And these winds are going to be cranking anywhere in these red shaded areas, easily toppling 60 to almost 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts at times, blanketed all the way across the West Coast, down here in Nevada, especially down here into portions of Arizona, getting through New Mexico, blanketed across portions of Texas there. There's not too many people are going to be escaping these higher winds over the next 48 hours as these systems will start to dig in, and that significant trough really starts to dig in and dive down further south. And even those higher wind gusts approach all the way down into Mexico, as you can see. But here's the overall rain showers over the next 48 hours. So your green shaded areas, that's just kind of very light rain. Your yellows are a little bit more light to moderate rain, and your reds are deeper into your heavier rains at times. So there's that trough that's hanging off the West Coast this afternoon. That'll be swinging across between now and Wednesday morning, with the initial impulse of some cooler rains back here into portions of like into Arizona, back into the Phoenix area. Those will extend into portions of southern New Mexico. We'll have the first piece of that energy pulling across portions of far north Texas, getting into Oklahoma, and then we'll just have light to moderate rain breaking out with those southwest winds over the next couple of days across portions of the southeast and portions of the Tennessee Valley, you know, getting up here to the northeast as well, while the snow starts to fly out west. So here's some of the snow preliminary totals between now and Wednesday morning. So we'll have that first initial piece of energy blanketed across the Intermountain West regions, as the snow will start to fly across the West Coast, and those will be sinking further into California. I think they really sink further south as we get deeper into your Wednesday. But there's the first initial snow bands that comes across this afternoon, going into tomorrow, ending on Wednesday morning, through portions of the Dakotas, but blanketed across Minnesota, back into northern portions of Michigan. And we'll be adding into Wisconsin. We'll be adding to these totals into the days to come. But let's take a look at the setup by Wednesday afternoon. So we'll still have that significant trough going to be digging in. We'll dive a little bit further south by then. So yes, places into far southern California could get, you know, these are going to be in the higher elevations, but hey, I can't even roll out a few snowflakes back into Los Angeles, believe it or not. Snow is going to be flying into Flagstaff, back into Salt Lake City, getting into the western slopes of Colorado, really breaking out with those blizzard conditions happening and unfolding across Wyoming. Those will sneak in through portions of the Dakotas. We'll have that trough sneaking in that will run across portions of North Texas, getting into Oklahoma, heading into portions of Arkansas and Louisiana. It's a fast, very progressive system. This thing will be moving about 50 to 60 miles an hour, so it's not going to be putting down significant rain amounts, but it does have a lot of instability further south where they could be looking at some severe weather. You can see the beginning stages of some ice really start to break out, and I think that just picks up an intensity of this ice storm that looks to unfold in the coming days. So further south, you've got to be on the lookout for some strong, possibly severe storms heading into Wednesday morning, going into Wednesday afternoon, starting off in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, moving across portions of Shreveport, back into Little Rock, getting into portions of Memphis, Tennessee. This is the area of concern. Not a high impact event by any stretch of the imagination, but yes, some of these could be strong and possibly severe with just a kind of a marginal risk in place as that system will be rapidly moving across 50, sometimes at 60 miles an hour. So yes, here's the temperatures by Wednesday. This is the setup we're talking about, folks. I mean, it's almost near 100 degrees, some crazy, insane stuff down there in South Texas. All these yellows areas and the circles, those are record high temperatures, and we could be looking at possibly 30 record high temperatures. Those in the squares are record low maximums. Those are the cold temperatures that are blanketed across a good part of California and all the way up here into Montana. Plenty of record, low maximum temperatures. You don't even get above 0 degrees up there into Montana and back into the Dakotas. But look at the temperatures just soar down here into the southeast, all the way up here into the Carolinas. 75 degrees there in Kentucky. That is some crazy stuff this time of year, and those warm temperatures extend all the way into Ohio, but we'll have a sharp temperature gradient. See, we'll have definitely a sharp temperature gradient as that cold air will sink south. As the warm air rises to the south, cold air sinks. That's going to be causing the overrunning setups, and unfortunately set up a significant ice storm in the days to come. So here's the setup by 9 o'clock on Wednesday. We'll have that snow flying into the Intermountain West. The snow will be really start to crank up by then, parts of the Dakotas, back into portions of Minneapolis, back into St. Paul, into the Duluth area. Green Bay is going to get crushed with this system, probably about a foot of snow for them. But further to the south, that's where we're going to have to be concerned about a significant damaging ice storm really start to unfold as the ice really starts to break out into portions of Nebraska, northern portions of Iowa there. I would think they're right on the extreme areas of northern and southern Wisconsin. I mean, so, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, but especially southern Michigan. A lot of the guidance is hinting at we could be looking at a damaging, if not crippling, ice storm setting up in southern Michigan. So definitely be on high alert, because we could be talking about numerous power outages unfolding in that region by the time we head into Wednesday night, especially into Thursday. And that will start sneaking into portions of the mid-Atlantic and heading into upstate New York and northern portions of Pennsylvania, starting to see that ice unfold by then. And I think it just kind of intensifies as we get deeper into Thursday. There's the setup by Thursday morning. We'll have the heavier snows really blanketed out, adding to these totals. Yeah, some of these areas could be picking up 1 to 2 feet of snow with this system, but further to the south, it's all about the ice. And some of this ice could really start to sneak in the northern portions of Pennsylvania by then. But man, as you wake up on Thursday, this is what we're talking about, the extreme temperature gradients. These are overall wind chills where we're talking dangerously, brutally cold wind chills across British Columbia, across Canada there. Those sneak across into portions of Montana. I mean, we're talking the blizzard-like conditions, and then 30 below zero feels like. It's some nasty stuff in Wyoming by the time you head into Thursday morning. But look at the wind chills drop to 16 below, but it's all about the well above average temperatures further off to the south and southeast. I mean, look at that up here in Ontario and portions of Quebec. I mean, that's getting dangerously frigid. 58 below zero. At the same time, that's a minus 58, and this is a positive 58. That's a 116 degree difference, right? And I know that's a wind chill, but still, that is some crazy stuff. And well, this is the extreme weather we're talking about that looks to unfold. And look at those wind chills drop all the way down into the desert southwest. Even Mexico is 20 degrees, feels like, in the mountains of Mexico. This is what we're dealing with, right? So it depends on where you live. You could be looking at spring, if not summer-like conditions, and it's full-blown winter in a good part of the country. So let's take a look at the overall high temperatures, and this is where it really gets serious. We could be looking at 76 record high temperatures by the time we get into Thursday afternoon with all these dots. I mean, 80 degrees in Atlanta, that's some crazy stuff for this time of year, even approaching 90, but potentially in North Carolina. That is some really intense, warm temperatures. But it's just completely the opposite as that polar vortex, drops southbound and really locks itself over the northern branch. So we'll have those extreme temperature gradients as you're really cold down there in portions of the west and much of the southwest. But look at the snow. I mean, these are some snow totals between now and now and Saturday time frame. Look at the snow in Southern California, folks. It's happening. It's definitely cold enough, and it's going to be snowing enough. And then even in Flagstaff, they could be looking at 18 inches of snow in Flagstaff. It's really going to be cranking out there. So some significant snows for the West Coast and along the Intermountain West regions, and that blanket of the snow will be moving across Nebraska into South Dakota. Will be really hitting the portions of Minnesota. Those areas could be looking at 1 to 2 feet of snow from this system. Green Bay will be picking up adding to those totals, you're about 12 inches below average for this time of year. You're going to get about 12 inches. So you're going to be basically normal snowfall by the time this system ends by Friday. And that snow will be cranking in northern portions of Wisconsin, northern portions of Michigan, blanketed across northern portions of upstate New York, getting into Vermont, New Hampshire, heading into Maine with some serious snow action heading up into those regions. But further south, we're going to have to be dealing with the ice. And some of this could be some significant ice unfolding, blanketed across. Here's the latest NAM. Here's the latest mesoscale NAM model, blankets a quarter to a half inch of ice across portions of central Iowa, getting into southern portions of Wisconsin, far extremes, northern Illinois. But again, especially portions of southern Michigan gets brutally, damaging, if not crippling ice from this system. That moves across portions of upstate New York, getting into Pennsylvania. They have to be really concerned about ice. Here's the latest GFS guidance, actually shifts it a little bit further south, right? So that still brings significant crippling totals into portions of southern Michigan there, but it also brings the ice further south into portions of Pennsylvania as well. And here's the latest European guidance, kind of has the same thing, same areas, just a little bit further off to the south as well, and getting in more portions of Pennsylvania. So definitely be on high alert of some significant power outages and a lot of treacherous travel in those neck of the woods by the time we get into Wednesday, through Friday timeframe. But it doesn't end there, folks. We've got another significant trough that's going to be diving in off the west, well below average temperatures hit California again. We got another trough diving into southwest regions, more cold, chilly rain flying in down those regions down there in southern California. That blankets across portions of Arizona here. And then we also have another piece of energy that's going to be pulling down into far extremes New England areas with possibly more snow for them. So here's the setup from the Climate Prediction Center. Well below average temperatures out west, well above average temperatures for the southern plains and much of the southeast, and getting into portions of the Ohio Valley, but then colder than average across these regions. And that's where the snow is going to be flying by the time we head into Sunday afternoon. Underneath that trough, we'll have a more chilly rain breaking out across portions of California, getting into Arizona. We'll have another lift mechanism, so bringing in some light showers across portions of Texas again into the southeast. And then there's the snow, pulls it a little bit further south as well. So we could be looking at not ice this time, but all snow in upstate New York, northern portions of Pennsylvania. That could creep down even into portions of Connecticut, down here up here into New England regions. And that just continues on to Tuesday of next week, with more snow hinting at these regions up here in New England. And yet we have another trough coming in off the west with more rain for them. And so let's look at the setup in the days to come going into next week with these significant snowstorms that'll be moving across, and more systems coming across the Intermountain West, and then another system be coming across New England through the 26th and the 28th time frame like I showed you. But it could be a little bit further south that pulls in more of northern Indiana, northern Ohio, more of Pennsylvania, and more of New England here, with some very heavy snow moving into that regions to end February. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update where I protect you before and after storm.